Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurul Nadiah binti Azman,
My name is Amira Ani binti Miska,
and today we would like to discuss about the movie Lifeline.
and how they use grief as a storytelling tool in the movie.
So, Lifeline is about the dreading life of a young woman named Vera who works as a hotline operator, which mostly handles cases talking to callers suffering from depression and also at the brink of suicide.
The bleak nature of her work forces her to become resilient despite the depressing phone calls that she has to answer every day. In Lifeline, we can clearly see how Vera suppresses all her prior trauma in order to go about her working life every day.
And in this video, we would like to argue regarding the discouraging nature of a crisis hotline operator and how it can inflict agony and pain.
In the beginning of Lifeline, there is a dialogue that plays over the opening scene, and it sounds like a hopeless sounding man is calling the phone and a woman is answering the phone. A scene of a man standing on a ledge with his phone to his ear is seen after a scene of a woman seen crying and trying to calm herself down before it plays over to the next scene. This is what we call a flash forward technique. A flash forward is just one of the many techniques that can be used to guide the narrative and give the audience a better understanding of the overall story. This can be seen at this part of the movie.
Next point is about Vera, who is a crisis hotline operator. She spends the majority of her time to assist people who are lonely, in trouble, and in despair who have suicidal thoughts at some point in their lives. It can be a hassle to deal with other people who are experiencing those emotions because it has a significant impact on their psychology and spirit. So before going to work, the main character of the movie, who goes by the name Vera, has a phone conversation with her mother. The conversation takes place right before Vera leaves for work. As soon as Vera's mother mentioned a man whose name was Mikhail, Vera made a hasty attempt to end the discussion. So in that part, the movie makes it clear that the name triggers a distinct memory in the very center of her brain, one that she has actively worked to suppress for as long as she can remember. So before beginning her emotionally taxing job, she does not want her state of mind to be thrown off in any way.
The movie then cuts to a flashback of her sitting with another person, most likely the man named Mikhail that was mentioned by her mother earlier in the scene. The action then cuts to her sitting by herself on the edge of the rooftop while holding a Polaroid picture in the other hand. This leads us to believe that the name mentioned by her mother during the conversation they were having on the phone prompted her to think back to the times she had spent with Mikhail. She has never been very successful at suppressing her feelings and emotions, which she has always attempted to bury as deeply as possible within herself. The only logical explanation we can come up with for this scene is that something took place between Vera and Mikhail, but Vera has made the decision to never discuss the traumatic events in her past.
Aside from the monotonous environment of Vera's work life, the film's use of a cool color tone helps to set off a gloomy mood for the story as it is focused on the suicidal and distant memory themes. Throughout the entirety of Lifeline, this is what we have determined to be the device that the filmmakers utilized in order to evoke a feeling of ambivalence in the audience members watching the film. In the next scene, Vera is hit with more heart-wrenching events. In this part, she takes Elliot's phone with a cheery demeanor, but after a few seconds of the inaudible exchange, her tone abruptly shifts to one that is very downcast. After that, she sat on the sofa, looking disheartened and defeated. It is possible for us to make the connection between the phone call and the note that she took out of her refrigerator. It's possible that she just got off the phone with her friend Elliot and learned some dreadfully distressing information about a person who's very close to her heart, and that this information relates to that person. So because of the suffering that Vera exhibited in this particular scene, we are confident in asserting that the story is told almost entirely through the lens of the grief that is projected by the main character.
Vera keeps up with her work as an operator at her day job. Even after everything that happened to her the night before that was sad and depressing, she still picks up the phone to talk to people who are depressed and calling the Lifeline. Every time she takes a call, she asks,
Lifeline, how can we help you?
as the first thing she says, in an effort to comfort someone who was struggling and to be there for someone who required it. Her voice contained all of the grief and sadness she was feeling deep inside. The film shows that Vera also needs help. She makes it a daily habit of inquiring of others about the ways in which she can be of assistance to them, despite the fact that no one ever inquires of her in return. Stan BH made a research that discusses about compassion satisfaction and compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue refers to the negative aspects of helping those who are suffering from traumatic stress, whereas compassion satisfaction refers to the pleasure that a helper can feel from being able to help others and make a positive difference in the world. A person who helps others may become overwhelmed by compassion fatigue, which may lead them to believe that their work is in vain. As a consequence of their work, they may also experience significant personal anguish or trauma. So that is what Vera is experiencing from our point of view.
Finally, the last part, which is the conclusion. One thing that we as a community always overlook is the helper. If the helper is helping us, then who is helping the helper? The film helps us look from another point of view. It also helps us think from a different perspective. We should not take lightly of making awareness regarding mental health support. From the movie, Vera was hit with a never-ending cycle of grief. Vera could have just quit her job and chose to work at a less stressful environment, but she didn't choose to do so. Why is that? It might have been that she believes strongly that she can help other people too. A lot of people need somebody like Vera. Vera's empathy values should be taken example of.
Lifeline, how can we help you?